Hi guys, welcome to Business Studies Made Easier. And today we will be learning about business activity, which is the first topic or the first chapter of the IGCSE Business Studies syllabus. So first we learn about the economic problem. So what is this economic problem? As outlined over here, we can see that the economic problem is where there are unlimited wants. There are unlimited wants by the human beings, yet there are limited or certain confined number of resources. So under here we learn about three terms: needs, wants, and scarcity. So what are needs? Needs are understood as the things that are essential for survival, that are necessary or that are required by people in order to survive, such as food, water, protection, shelter, etc. While the wants are understood in business studies as the ways that the people will be satisfying their needs. For example, if we are to speak about clothes, the people will be satisfying the need clothes through certain wants such as t-shirts, shirts, trousers, etc. So basically, in order to revise, we can say that wants are the way that the people will be satisfying the essential needs. So next, what is scarcity? Scarcity once again means when there are limited number of resources or factors of production, which means the things that are needed to produce goods and services, when they are limited, but the humans' wants are unlimited or infinite. And there are multiple infinite, endless wants, and then there are a certain perimetered number of resources, scarcity will be occurring. So, as I have spoke about the factors of production, or in other terms, the resources, now we are going to learn about what are the factors of production or what are the resources in detail. So in business studies, we have understood that there are four main factors of production, which is land, labor, capital, and enterprise. So land includes all the natural elements or the natural raw materials that are being produced or provided by the earth, such as the oil, gas, sunlight, water, which are not man-made, they are natural. Next, we see labor. Labor includes all the human or the laborers, the employees, the people who work in a business. It can be the human strength, their brain, their knowledge, which includes the manpower or the people, their strengths, etc. Next, we see capital. Capital means the finance or the money, and this also includes certain human-made resources such as machinery, technological items that are used in the production process. Next, we learn about enterprise, which is a crucial, important factor when it comes to business studies. Enterprise is the skill and the risk of bearing while doing a business organization. This is the skill and the risk-taking ability of a person to bring all these three factors of production and to produce something. Basically, this can be the owner of a business who decides to use these three factors of production to produce a product or a service. This is really important because this is the person who is deciding what to produce, for whom to produce, and all those other questions. Enterprise is the skill to use these three factors of production to produce something. Without the enterprise, these three factors of production cannot be taken into use efficiently. So, as we have discussed, that the resources are limited while the wants are unlimited. It can be evidently seen that the resources such as land, labor, capital, and enterprise are limited in supply because there won't be endless amounts of natural resources, which means land is limited. And there won't be endless amounts of labor, which means labor is limited. And in the same side, we can see that there won't be endless amount of capital, which means that capital is also limited. And enterprise, the skill to produce goods or services, the ability to take risks will also be limited. Not all people will be possessing the skill of an enterprise. So with this, we can say that the factors of production are limited, which leads us towards scarcity. So as these resources are limited, this opens up the need for the people to choose something. In the world, there are many businesses. Not all the businesses can produce everything. This is happening due to the fact of scarcity. And in the world, not all the people can buy everything. This is happening because of scarcity. So, a business which is trying to produce something, or a person who is trying to consume something, must make a choice. For example, if you have $50 in your hand, and if you want to buy a video game, or instead, if you can buy a bag, actually a school bag that you can carry books, in the same time, you won't be able to buy both due to the limited amount of money you have in your hand. So in that certain scenario, you will have to decide, you will have to make a decision on what to purchase, either the bag or maybe either the video game. So in this situation, you have to make a choice. Let's say you made the choice to buy a video game. In that particular scenario, you have given up buying the bag. Instead, you bought the video game, which leads us to this opportunity cost. Now, this term opportunity cost is something that happens in our day-to-day life. In our day-to-day life, when we are to purchase something, when we are in the supermarket, when we have multiple choices, but when you only can purchase one thing, you will be having to giving up the other certain stuff, the other certain entities that you will be willing to produce. You will have to give them up to buy something else. So opportunity cost is the next best alternative given up by choosing another item. Opportunity cost is understood as the next best alternative given up by choosing another item. So as we have discussed in our previous example, the opportunity cost will be the school bag, which we gave up in order to buy the video game. So this clear example tells us about the business organizations as well. If a person wants to produce something, a good or a service, he or she needs to decide what to produce. Now, if a person wants to engage in a business, he or she must decide whether to produce dairy products or bakery items or whatsoever. They can only make one decision due to the fact that these resources are scarce. And once they make a decision, the thing that they are let going, the thing that they will be abandoning in order to make a choice is known as the opportunity cost. So, one of the most efficient, effective ways of using the limited resources is specialization. This specialization is where people or the businesses concentrate on what they are best at. As noted over here, specialization is where people and businesses concentrate on what they are best at. So now, in order to overcome these limited resources, certain businesses will be thinking on what they are best at. As the previous example, if a person has the choice to either produce bakery items or dairy items, he or she must have to come to a conclusion thinking what he or she is best at, either producing dairy items or bakery items. they have to produce only one. So in order to make use efficiently, the best use of these limited resources, they will be deciding what to produce on thinking what they are best at. So let's say that the owner is best at producing the dairy items, which means that the owner is specialized at dairy items. Then he or she will be deciding to produce dairy items instead of bakery items. So specialization is very common. It's really common because the people will be having to come to a conclusion to produce what to produce. They are going to produce what they are best at, which will lead them to efficiency of using these resources. So next we encounter something known as division of labor. Division of labor. So what is this division of labor? The term itself implies that division of labor is when the production process is split up into different tasks and each worker performs one of these tasks. It is a form of specialization. So this is where the production process, the process of producing goods and services, is being split up into different parts. And when each worker or each employee is enabled or assigned to part themselves in a certain part of the production process. For example, as we see in this picture, where Joy Sharma is a carpenter. Now they have multiple processes in the production process. Now this is the production process. This is the production process from this first phase to the end. This is the production process. So here, it is divided into parts. Now here Joy cuts the wood, he assembles the table, he polishes the table, Joy delivers the table. Likewise, the process of producing the goods and service is being broken down into parts. So here, division of labor can be done by enabling a certain number of laborers or certain number of employees to engage in the process of cutting the wood, and another set of employees to assemble the table, and another set of employees to polish the table, and of course, the remaining set of employees to deliver the table. So this is also something associated with specialization. In order to create efficiency out of these resources, factors of production, and in order to lead to cost minimization, business organizations will be using division of labor. They will be using a certain type or certain number of employees to focus on one aspect, only on one aspect of the production process. This will lead us to certain advantages, such as the workers are trained in one task and specialized in this. This increases efficiency and output. Of course, this can be easily understood. Now, when the workers are trained in one task, when the workers are only trained in assembling the table, when some workers are only trained on cutting the wood. Now, the people who cut the wood, they are well trained because the only thing that they know is cutting the wood. So they will be given the time, they will be having the ability to maximize efficiency, to exceed, to improve themselves in cutting the wood, because the only thing that they do is cutting the wood. So this will lead to minimized wastages and minimized errors as well, which will increase the efficiency in production. What are the disadvantages of division of labor and specialization? Well, the first thing is that the workers who engage will be becoming bored, which indeed is something normal. Because, for example, if we take this production process, the people who engage in polishing the table, they might be becoming bored. After all, the only thing that they have been doing is polishing the tables for such a long time. So they might be bored of polishing tables, doing the same thing over and over and over again. The next thing is, if one worker is absent and no one else can do the job, production process might be stopped. Definitely. So if these workers are only trained on one aspect of the production process, if these workers only know, and if there are only one set of workers for one part of the production process. Sometimes the workers might get sick, sometimes they might get absent. So for certain different reasons, the absenteeism of the workers might lead to a hold down in the production process, which will stop the business temporarily, which is not good. Next, we have the purpose of business activity. What is the purpose? What is the purpose of a business? Why do they exist? And what are businesses? Now, the term businesses you might have heard everywhere. So what are businesses? Businesses combine factors of production to make products, goods, and services which satisfy people's wants. So these businesses are what combines these limited resources, as we have discussed previously. They are what these combine these limited resources, and they produce goods and services which will satisfy the people's wants. This is known as the business. This is what defines a business. Sorry, this okay. This is what defines a business. Okay. Next, we have our topic, added value. Added value is really important. It's crucial in a business organization. So added value is the difference between the selling price of a product and the cost of the bought-in materials and the components. Is the difference between the selling price of a product and the cost of the bought-in materials and components. So as you can see, this added value is actually the selling price minus the cost of the raw materials. For example, if you take a business which produces milk, if that business sells 1 carton of milk for $50, that is the selling price. Selling price will be $50. And the cost for the factors of production, such as paying the wages of the labor, for the raw materials from the cow, for the capital, and such as those, for all the components and the bought-in materials, let's say the cost will be $40, which is $40. So as the definition itself implies, it is the difference between selling price and the cost of bought-in materials. If the cost of the bought-in materials is $40, it will be 50 minus $40 will be the added value, of the milk carton, which is $10. $10 will be the added value. So here, as this chart itself implies, if this is the selling price of a product and if this is the material and bought-in cost, this remaining is known as the added value. This remaining part, which is here, is known as the added value. So why is added value important for a business? Why is it important? If there is not something called an added value, for example, let's think this milk carton is sold for $50, and if the cost of the bought-in materials are also $50, or in the other way, if we say, if a person is producing a bun, if the cost for the bun is $10, and if that person is selling that bun for $10, when it is 10 minus 10, this is 0, which means the added value is 0. This added value is really important. It must exist in a business for their products. If not, they will not be able to cover up their other costs, management costs, and other type of costs. Also, they will not be able to make any profit. And it is understood that a business organization is nothing. The profit is really important. It's significant for a business. Without the added value, a business will be unable to make a profit. Here, as we can see, to pay other costs such as labor costs, management expenses, costs such as advertising and power, and to make a profit, added value is really important. So speaking about this added value, how can a business increase this added value? How can a business increase this added value? This added value, which is really important to the business, how can they increase this? How can they increase the gap between the selling price of the product and the material and bought-in cost. How can they increase the gap? Well, the answers are right here. Increase selling price but keep the cost of materials the same. Exactly. It is necessarily understood if you want to increase the gap between these, the gap in the sense if you want to increase the added value, you can increase the selling price. Now over here in this milk carton example, as you can remember, we did about the milk carton which was sold at $50 and the cost was at $40. The added value was 10. So how can we increase the added value? How can we increase this added value? How can we increase it? Well, it's simple. The first way is to increase the price. So now if you are going to increase the price of this carton, of this milk carton to $60, but make sure you keep your costs the same, relatively same. Now when you increase the price to $60, your added value will be 20 because 60 minus 40 is 20. Now your added value will be increased, which means profits will be increased as well as the availability of finance for the other cost will also be increasing. Okay. So increasing the price is done by a business to increase the added value. So a next type of way that we can increase the added value is by reducing the cost of the bought-in materials. It's necessary if you want to increase this gap. Either you can increase the selling price or either you can minimize the cost of the bought-in materials. Either you can minimize the cost of the bought-in materials. Let's say this milk carton which is being sold at $50, previously the cost was $40. Now if we reduce the cost of the bought-in materials to $35, then 50 minus 35, 50 minus 35, don't mind about my letters, of course they are done. So 50 minus 35, this will result us as the added value 15, which means that the added value comparatively has been increased. Previously it was 10 and now it is 15. So here the difference between the selling price of the product and the material of bought-in material costs will be increasing, which means the added value is increasing. This is another way, this is the second way which we can increase the added value as shown over here. So that brings us to the end of today's lesson, but we have some set of questions that we can attempt on over here. So let's give a try at this. Gauri plans to start up her business using her own savings. She wants to produce fashion clothes for women. She is a very good cloth designer, but she does not like stitching clothes together. Two friends have offered to help Gauri. Abba is an experienced material cutter. She can cut lengths of material for clothes with very little wastage. Aditi is a quick at sewing. So here the first question that we have is a 2 marks question. As you can see, what is meant by a business? So actually this is like a revision summary of today's lesson. So hope you will find out time to answer these questions as well. Okay, so what is a business? A business is an organization where they combine the scale factors of production in order to produce goods and services. The next question is identify 2 factors of production that Gauri will need for her new business. Identify 2 factors of production that Gauri will need for her business. Okay, the 2 factors of production are necessarily 2 from the list of 4, either land or capital or labor or enterprise. The next question, which is a 4 marks one. Identify and explain 2 possible opportunity costs that Gauri may have from her decision to start her own business. Identify and explain 2 possible opportunity costs that Gauri may have from her decision to start her own business. So Gauri as a person will be having the choice. either to start her own business or to work somewhere else. So they are asking two possible opportunity costs, not one but two. Identify and explain two possible opportunity costs that Gauri will be having in starting her own business. Well, the first, of course, is working in a firm, working in a textile firm, where she will be receiving a wage or a salary. This is the first opportunity cost. If Gauri was not to start up her own business producing fashion clothes for women, she would have easily earned a wage or a salary by working in a fashion firm or a fashion designing firm or somewhere else. That is the first opportunity cost. The next opportunity cost is the time that she must have stayed at home, the time that she must have stayed leisurely at home by going to work and coming home. The time that she must have spent leisurely at home is the next opportunity cost. Now, due to the fact that Gauri has started her own business, the opportunity that she will be spending at home, the time that she will be spending at home leisurely is known as the opportunity cost, will be defined as the opportunity cost of taking her decision of starting her own business. Next, we have a 6 marks question, which needs our analytical as well as our application and our knowledge. We will be having to use all these 3 aspects in a well efficient and organized manner in order to obtain the full 6 marks. Okay, to start up this, we can write it in this manner. So the question is, identify and explain one advantage and one disadvantage to Gauri's business of using division of labor in making clothes. Okay, now they ask us to identify and explain one advantage and one disadvantage to Gauri's business of using division of labor. One important thing that we can do while we are in an examination is to make sure that we underline the keywords so that we can directly answer to the point. We can directly answer to the point, which is really important. One advantage and one disadvantage to Gauri of using division of labor. Well, the first advantage is, as of course, the training cost will be mitigated. This is actually the knowledge that is implied. So here we can say, through the application as well, we can say that by using division of labor, she will be able to mitigate the cost. Now here itself they say Abba is an experienced material cutter. So now Gauri can use Abba to cut the material. Okay, Gauri can use Abba to cut the material, and she can use her other friend to stitch the material. Now her 2 friends are specialized in 2 specific fields. So by using this division of labor, by enabling her friends to work only on one aspect of the production process, she will be able to mitigate the cost in producing clothes for women. The case study itself implies that she can cut lengths of material for clothes with very little wastage. Now Abba, who is enabled to focus on the material cutting aspect of the production process, is able to mitigate or minimize the wastage, little wastage. So the first advantage is, if Gauri uses division of labor, she will be able to mitigate the wastages and lead to efficiency in producing the clothes for women. And what is the other disadvantage of doing so? Well, we can simply say that her 2 friends might be getting bored and lose their motivation. They might be alienated through doing the same task over and over again in a repetitive sequence, doing the same thing over and over again. Abba might be demotivated through cutting the clothes, to cutting the material, and her other friend might be demotivated through stitching the material over and over again. These can be the disadvantages of division of labor. So now in that way, you can answer a 6 marks question. The final and the last question that we will be attempting on today is, do you think that Gauri's business will be able to sell all of the clothes that it makes? Justify your answer. Now this is a bit of a tough question, which will be challenging to answer, but of course, if you are able to analyze and manage your answer, you can hit the full marks. Let's go through the question once again. Do you think that Gaudi's business will be able to sell all of the clothes that it makes? All of the clothes that it makes. Justify your answer. Okay guys, then thank you for watching this video. I hope that you have understood something, understood a deeper insight about this business activity chapter in this video. You will be hoping more from, you can expect more from me from the upcoming weeks. We will be discussing further about the upcoming chapters in these IGCSE business studies syllabus. So thank you everyone for watching. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon, and please like this video. Thank you.